You wouldn't believe the speeds he's driven. You wouldn't believe the forces he endures. You wouldn't believe the pressure he faces every day. You wouldn't believe the sacrifices he's made. You wouldn't believe he's 15 years old. You wouldn't believe it, but he does.
Motorsport, January, New Zealand. The only place for aspiring world champions to be at this time of year. This is the 2016 Toyota Racing Series. In the shadow of the stunning Southern Alps and across the Canterbury Plains, Christchurch is a vibrant and world-renowned city and the host to round one of the Toyota Racing Series. The track is 3.33 kilometres in length and defined by the long front straight and a tricky tight technical infield section, as well as the famous flat-out pothole corner, which will challenge the drivers on every lap. 4 teams will contest in the 2016 Toyota Racing Series over 5 weeks and 15 races. We take a closer look now at the contenders, starting with last year's champions M2 competition.
Got a pretty strong lineup, I have to say, in terms of the drivers. We'll see what happens. We haven't got into the weekend properly yet, so we have to do it step by step. But overall, it's looking good, but we still have to put it together.
Who have you got?
We've got 6 cars, same as last year. So we've got Artem Markelov, who did, I actually engineered him in GP2 last year. We've got Joe Zhu, part of the Ferrari Driver Academy. We've got Lando Norris, who's the MSA champion, Formula MSA champion. We've got Camila Liberté, who comes from Formula 4. We've got Pedro Piquet, who's the Brazilian Formula 3 champion. And finally, we've got Jehan Naruvala, who's part of the Force India junior development.
Moving along the pit lane, it's the smallest team in the series, Victory Motorsport from Nelson.
We've got 2 international rookies. One is Julian Hannes from Germany. So he is about to do his very first motor race. He's only done karting before. Bruno Baptista from Brazil. He has done a restricted season in Formula Renault in Europe. And we have Brendan Leach, local boy from Invercargill, who's joining us again for the 3rd year. He's here by himself, like Damon's not doing the season this year. And he is very hungry, he's fit. The biggest handicap, I guess, is that he's an apprentice mechanic for 11 months of the year and a racing driver for a month, but he's going to do his absolute best, and I'm sure he'll run in the top 5.
European Technique, or E-Tech as they're known here, have 4 cars this year.
We've got Rogério Batista from Brazil, Taylor Cockerton from New Zealand, Theo Bean from America, and Timothy Barrett from France.
Interesting, yeah. I know you got Theo. He's probably the oldest driver here, and has come an interesting route from vintage. And then you've got Taylor, as you mentioned, who's really the next up-and-coming Kiwi.
Look, he's done a great job, you know, in the unofficial testing on the old car. He's done a great job, learn his way around, and I think he's going to be pretty good. I think he might be our lead driver this year.
And finally, the most experienced team on the grid, led by former Formula 1 McLaren engineer Stephen Giles, who always has a strong group of drivers to contend for the title.
We've got a bit of an international field, as we do every year. 6 drivers with Ferdinand Habsburg, who was here last year, driving for a different team. James Munro, who's back with us from New Zealand. Anthony Patak, Polish. Nicolas De Pero from Argentina. Devlin DeFrancesco from Canada, and Will Owen from the US. So a bit of a mix, really. The main objective is certainly score points. You know, one of our biggest problems last year, we had a competitive car, some very quick drivers, but we just couldn't follow through with finishing races, and that cost us in the end with the championships. So I'm really stressing to the drivers, especially those. We've got a couple in with a good shout for the title, so they need to maintain consistency and score points, but even the young guys, they're here to learn, so the only benefit they'll get out of racing here is to finish races and do the mileage.
Well, one of the drivers from Giles with plenty of miles under his belt is New Zealand's top contender, James Munro. He's won a race in the series last year and is determined to have a stronger impact in 2016.
Yeah, this is my third year now in the series, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully challenging these international drivers from all around the world and putting my experience to use to lead the Kiwi charge. My goals are still definitely in single-seaters. My ultimate goal is to race in IndyCar. I'm hoping to use the Toyota Racing Series this season as a bit of a stepping stone over onto the road to Indy. It's definitely going to be the best preparation that I can possibly get. Yeah, it's really motivating to see how well all the Kiwis are going at the moment, especially the ones who have come out of this series, like Brendan Hartley, Nick Cassidy, Mitch Evans, Richie Stanaway, Shaman Gisberg, and there's a lot of very successful guys. And it's great to see where you can go from the Toyota Racing Series and how much of a benefit it is to our careers, particularly the Kiwis. It gives us a chance to prove ourselves and then get opportunities overseas. I think the key to this championship is being consistent and finishing all the races, basically. I've showed flashes of speed, I think, over the last 2 years. I even managed to win on only my second race in the second weekend in the series. But I think what I've lacked is the consistency. And you see the past champions have done a really good job of just finishing every race, collecting as many points as they can. And I think that's the way you win the championship.
Introduced in 2015, the FT50 Toyota race car by Tatas is packed with the latest technology. For 2016, the biggest change comes from a brand new Michelin tyre.
This is a tyre that's sort of been developed up in Europe for the European Series, F3, etc., etc. It just filters down to what we have here. So it's a similar tyre, as it's still regarded as a sprint tyre, but still gives you the life and the performance.
Coming up, it's race one as the lone Briton, Lando Norris, dominates qualifying and takes the pole. Welcome back to a wet and windy Christchurch, the ultimate challenge for the drivers to get their 2016 season underway. So the grid for the first race of the 2016 season sees Lando Norris on pole position for Great Britain, then Habsburg alongside him. Then it's Zhou of China, Leach, Markeloff and Munro on row 3, then Owen and Daruvala, Cockerton and Piquet, De Pero and Lalibate, Di Francisco and Baptista, Patak and Bean, Beret and Hannes of Germany, and at the back, Bruno Baptista.
Jonathan Moore, it's always a nervous time, the start of a new season, but your boys are where you need to be, and you've got the pole position for the first race of 2016.
We do indeed, yeah. It's a good start. We still have a bit of work to do, I think. We're not quite up where we want to be yet. And it's only the first quali. We don't get points for quali, so we have plenty more races to come. I think we need to get through today, hopefully with all 6 cars in a good position and complete at the end of the race, and then we'll see for tomorrow, but we're taking it step by step.
First race then of 2016, Lando Norris on pole position on the right, and alongside him, Ferdinand Habsburg of Austria. Away they go. Good start from James Munro, the local man, who comes alongside Brendan Leach, fellow Kiwi, and round to the outside, though there's not a lot of room back there. He goes to third place, and looks as though he's going to slot in behind the Brit, who takes second place, and it is Ferdinand Habsburg, the man who came here last year, finished 11th overall in his rookie season, but now leads the field of 2016. Everybody safely through as they go through the pothole for the first time. Spoke too soon because 2 cars are now off, and one of them is Bruno Baptista of Victory Racing, the Brazilian, and the other is number 17, Devlin Di Francesco of Giles Motorsport, the Canadian. So 2 cars off already in the opening stages of race 1 as we go on board with Artem Markeloff, who comes alongside Leach. Good start from the GP2 man, of course, teammate to Mitch Evans, who's here this weekend. And there is Brendan Leach battling hard, and he's got Cockerton, the young Kiwi, making his debut. Taylor Cockerton in the number 11, sponsored by McDonald's. And behind him, Pedro Piquet of Brazil. On board now with Pedro, his father Nelson, 3-time World Formula One champion, watching from the sidelines to see if this youngster can do the business. On board with American William Owen, Pro Master Series last year, trying out New Zealand for the first time and getting very close attention from the Argentinian Nicolas Tapero, who wins that battle between the two of them. And across the line, Brendan Leach in his 3rd season now, getting a full budget for this weekend and for the season ahead with ITM on board. Delighted to announce that news. And he's just ahead of Cockerton. And the second Canadian's gone off. Camille Laliberté has gone off. Here's what happened. He was behind the pole attack and just braked too late. Almost went into the back of the pole, but managed to avoid him, had to go into the gravel. And Cammy out. Here's what happened to Di Francesco, and he too, getting stuck behind Bruno Baptista and just tapped into the back of him, and off he goes. So a restart after the safety car. Habsburg leads them away. Lando Norris jinks to the outside. Good battle also. Markloff all over Munro. Markloff to the inside. Munro tries to defend. What a great restart this is. Habsburg holds the best line. Norris goes to the outside, but will have to come back in, and he might lose a place. Back on board with Leach, who's in 5th place. Frenetic start, excellent stuff. Here comes Brendan Leach on Joe, the Chinese driver, and he has to give position. Excellent driving from Leach. Used all his experience there. Good aggressive driving by Brendan Leach as they go into the hairpin. There's our first look at the number 6. That's Jahan Daruvala of India, the Sahara Force India Academy driver. We've got the Ferrari Academy driver in Zoe. There he is. And obviously Ferrari and Sahara Force India feel that the New Zealand series and the Toyota Racing Series has been a great stomping ground for young and up-and-coming drivers, Macchiello being one. So many of them have come down here and gone on to bigger and better around the world. Think of Pippo Durrani, Felix Sorellas, and of course Nick Cassidy, Mitch Evans, the local grown men, as we see Brendan Leach and James Munro fighting it out. The latest Kiwis on their way up. On board with Munro across the line. He's got Leach in his sights. Leach defends to the inside. Munro goes to the outside. He must have learnt from his first corner from the start that you can't get round the outside, Munro. But Munro is wise. And Leach just gets a little bit out of shape, and that allows Munro to come side by side as they head towards the pothole. Oh, great driving from Munro. Wow, what a stunning overtake in one of the fastest and toughest corners on this track. But Munro knows it well, so does Leach. And Munro wins that battle, and Leach knows it, and now he's got more trouble as Leach, and he gesticulates to Zhou of China, and Piquet's waiting to pounce. So Leach is in the thick of it, that's for sure. He gets beaten up for a moment there by James Munro. And then China's Guan Yu Zhou of M2 competition, the 2015 Italian Formula 4 runner-up, also makes an attack but has to stay behind the number 86 for now. And that ITM coloured car, very distinctive on track in the black and yellow as we go back on board with the Chinese driver, now living in the UK. He spent the last 3 years in the UK, so acclimatising himself to British racing. Cut and thrust of how it is there. Pedro Piquet, who came here a couple of years ago, got a couple of races and then went back and has since won 2 Formula 3 Brazilian championships. And against Zhou having a go around the outside. What an audacious move. And Leach will be wondering how he got through there, but he's done it. And you can see from the speeds, from the graphics, just how fast he was through there. And Leach won't like that much. Through the pothole they go again, and Leach trying to get back on level terms. Piquet waiting to pounce as well. He can try and go around the outside himself. Cuts it back nicely. Good fighting this between the Chinese driver and Invercargill's Brendan Leach. He goes to the inside, and if anybody knows this inside section of the Christchurch circuit, it'll be this man, Brendan Leach. Not much room at the carousel to overtake. A possible move towards the S's. But Zhou doing a really good job of learning this circuit. They've had a lot of testing but a lot of it was in the wet and windy conditions, not in these conditions, and wide goes Norris! Onto the grass, bouncing over the curbs and back on track, but loses a spot to Artem Markelov. So the Russian is through. So a rare mistake by the 16-year-old former world karting champion and current Formula 4 British champion. He and Markelov, the GP2 star, go in pursuit of the leader, Austrian Ferdinand Habsburg, who's built up that lead now as we go back on board with Markelov. Here's Habsburg, and what a clean race he's had. Got away well from the start, defending his position, and you can see the gap he's got to second and third, and Norris has done well to catch up with Markelov. And Baptista with problems again, bouncing over these high curbs here in Christchurch and falling foul to them onto the grass and into the barriers, breaking the suspension, and that is game over for the Brazilian for this one. So then, Norris jinks to the inside, trying to put some pressure on Markelov as we go back on board with Habsburg. Habsburg exits the last corner. It's been a brilliant run. He raises his fist because that's his first win in cars. Ferdinand Habsburg wins in Christchurch to take round one of the Toyota Racing Series. A check on the results then for race one with a win for Ferdinand Habsburg ahead of Markelov, Norris, Munro, then Zhou in fifth place, Leach, Piquet, Daruvala, Cockerton, Beret, Owen and De Pero round out the top 12. Further down, Anton Patak of Poland is 13th, then Di Francesco, Julian Hannes, Theo Bean and DNFs for Bruno Baptista, Lalibite and Rodrigo Baptista.
It's a really good race, finally a race win for me as well. So happy also for my team, my mechanic, my engineer. Yeah, we were thinking about jinxing it in the beginning by hoping just putting P1 on the board straight away, but we didn't, so I'm quite happy. It was a really good race.
It was a bit of lucky, like my teammates did a mistake, but this is professional sport and I think this is why we're here. We learn here the mistakes and improve our experience. And I think this is some learn for him. And I'm pretty happy for my result. I'm P2, and I think I'll be better and better. It depends of the race.
Obviously third's not too bad, good bunch of points. Yeah, start of the season, so it's not too bad. Yeah, he just picked me off the start, so a bit unfortunate, but obviously need to make sure I improve on that for next time. Yeah, and then I just pushed a bit hard in the middle to try and get a bit closer. Just put a wheel on the dirt and then lost it. So yeah, still fastest lap, so we got the pace. I just need to make sure I stay in first.
17-year-old Pedro Piquet returns to the series after dominating 2 seasons of Formula 3 in Brazil and is now honing his racecraft in the Toyota Racing Series in preparation for a full season of Formula 3 in Europe.
This series gives you a boost, you know. You can be here or you can be at home doing nothing. So you do 15 races and you enter the first round of your series this year, like very well prepared, very sharp. You know, you do 15 races really neck to neck against the drivers because the cars are really similar. You can change a lot of things. Inside the track, the driver can see your helmet, you know, from behind, so they will treat you as usual. They will not treat me differently just because of the name. So we race hard each other, and no, hey, that's how it works. So I don't care about my name. I will do my job and and push to the max. He comes through all my races every time, and it's I think the best advice I could ever get. He already passed through everything, and everything that I'm passing out he's already done. So it's anything he says, I listen very, very attentively.
Coming up after the break, race 2 as Habsburg picks the dreaded 8-ball. One of the favourites for this year is young Austrian Ferdinand Habsburg, who raced TRS last year but has changed teams and will race for Giles Motorsport in 2016.
It's been a really good season last year. I learned so much and it helped me so much in my European season. So why not come back? It's a great series. It's got a really good surrounding, a good organisation, and I was happy with victory, but obviously Charles did better in the results, and I've come back to win. So I've done everything to try to make that as possible. We're really building as a team. It always takes a while, and it's good for me. I know the car, I know the track. I'm very happy. I'm in a good place, and everybody's been really positive. So I can't say anything can go really wrong for now. Well, obviously my family history back in Europe is massive. We were the monarchy family in Austria for hundreds of years. That's passed, and now I'm trying to make my own name out of it in racing, and that's what I'm here to do as well, just like all the other drivers. I've got a great name, and I'm happy to carry it, but now I'm here to make it in racing just as much, and make people think of Habsburg and put it together with racing, and that's the idea. The tracks here don't necessarily allow a lot of mistakes, which is very good, because in Europe you can make a lot of mistakes and kind of get away with it, but it's never a good way to learn. So coming here was good to have no room for error, and if you do, you have a big consequence. And generally also really strong competition, great European drivers, and it's been 5 weeks of intensive racing, and it's a lot of fun as well. So.
Reverse top 8 for race 2 sees Daruvala on pole, alongside him Pedro Piquet. Then it's Brendan Leach and Joe, Munro and Norris, then Markelov and race 1 winner Habsburg, Cockerton, Beret, Will Owen and De Pero of Argentina, Patak and Di Francesco, Hannes and Bean, Baptista, Bruno and Laliberte, and Rodrigo Baptista at the back.
Well, Ollie, always interesting to see the start of a race. Last-minute words of advice. Your boy's on pole position. What did you say?
Yeah, he just needs to stay calm. In the wet, it's difficult to get off the line without wheel spin. So, yeah, my advice was to stay calm, do what you know to do, and, yeah, then just focus on looking forward, not in the mirrors, and try and get a gap.
Race 2 then, reverse top 8 and atrociously wet conditions. Away we go from the start. And a good start from Taylor Cockerton, the rookie. Wow, look at him weave his way through. Likewise, Timothy Beret, the Frenchman, all the way up there. Cockerton slots in behind Norris. Great start by the Kiwi as we go back on board. He's gone to the outside, there's no room there, and he has to slot in behind Zhou, the Chinese driver. And a very, very interesting start. One driver stuck on the grid, stalled. And it's Piquet who leads the way. Munro up on the inside of the number 86, Brendan Leach. And again, Munro and Leach go head-to-head here in race 2 as they did in race 1, and again Munro goes through. So Munro up to 3rd place now behind Beret, who had a brilliant start, the Frenchman, who's been racing in Pro Mazda in the United States, now based in Indianapolis. And look at the rain that Norris just went through, the water, the puddles on track. It's so wet, and you can see as we go on board with the American, William Owen, that visibility is just not good at all. In fact, Owen and Beret teammates last year in the States. Daruvala, the Indian, going through. But Piquet, Pedro Piquet leads the way. Back on board with Lando Norris. Up the inside of Leach. Leach left the door open there for the Englishman, and he didn't need a second invitation. And through he goes out of the last turn here at the Mike Perro circuit. And Brendan Leach, side by side with Norris. Leach has got the better line. Norris goes to the outside, and Leach knows the circuit well and knows that all he has to do is keep his nose in there, and he's got this turn, and he does so. Great stuff by Leach. So, having been overtaken by Norris by going wide earlier on, he's paid the compliment back with an excellent move at turn 1. And Brendan Leach now here for the full season with a full sponsorship with ITM, looking to make a go of it here in his 3rd attempt at the TRS series. And here's what happened at the start. It was Habsburg. Race 1 winner, number 62 from Austria, Ferdinand Habsburg, stalls off the grid. A very scary moment. Here's the avoiding action. Devlin Di Francesco somehow avoids him, the Canadian. Norris through on Leach again. What a great battle these two are having. Norris not afraid, and Leach probably with the circuit knowledge and certainly the car knowledge. Although, to be fair to Brendan, he's been doing some work at Highlands but hasn't done a lot of driving. of late, so still getting up to speed, Brendan Leach, and a lot of hopes for him. And Theo Bean stalls it. Captain America helmet and another car. It looks like Cockerton might have stalled it as well, but here's what happened to Theo Bean. Just spun it round in the wet conditions. Simple spin, that one. Nobody collects him, thankfully. A 23-year-old American, the oldest driver in the series. She's hardly very old at all. They range from 15 up to 23, and there is the number 23. His compatriot, Will Owen of Giles Motorsport. And for the restart now, Timothy Beret all over the back of PK. He jigs to the outside to try and stay out of the spray. Now gets back into it. Really tough conditions. Monroe's looking for a way past too. It's anyone's into the first corner. Beret's gone wide. PK picks it up and takes the lead. Beret struggling, loses a lot of ground on the exit of one as they head towards the pothole. This will give Monroe a chance, and here comes Monroe. Monroe does it again at the pothole. Fantastic driving by James Monroe. Did it in race 1, did it again in race 2. They're 3 wide into the Euromark hairpin. Norris up the inside, sends Beret wide. He tries to follow Monroe, and he does so. Beret gets beaten up there at the hairpin, but recovers well. And just behind him, Brendan Leach. And as well as that, Zhou goes through as well. There's Leach just behind. And poor old Timothy Beret is having such a good start to his race. And now he's lost several places. Here comes Leach. Oh no! Leach tries up the inside of the carousel and then does his own carousel, spinning round and out of contention. Here we go. Gets on the power on the inside, and it's very wet in there. No harm in trying, but Leach, luckily no one collects him, gets to carry on. Conditions really not easy at all. First of all, vision. If you're following somebody, secondly, where is the grip? Where are the very, very wet patches? We saw Norris go through a puddle earlier on. So everybody just finding their way around and trying to be as quick as they can. And Daruvula goes round, and so too does Depero of Argentina, and Monroe is off into the barriers. Goes Monroe, and he locks it up, and he's just a passenger at this point. Bang! And nasty crash then, and here's another look. Yeah, Monroe just braked a little harder. He locked up, and Norris avoids him. Here's Daruvula. Just on his own, I think, spun round. That put Depero off, and he had to take avoiding action. So 3 cars in one corner there. And sure enough, the safety car is out. And already plenty of drama, as you'd expect. Reverse grid, and with these conditions. And now can young 16-year-old Pedro Piquet keep his head and hold off fellow 16-year-old Norris of Great Britain? They are all locked in battle. Habsburg's recovered well, and he's still in the running. They come out of the last corner. They'll be led by Piquet. Conditions are terrible, as we can see as we go on board with Zhou, who jigs to the outside to avoid the spray. Smart move by the Chinese. Now he slots back in to take the right line for the corner. He's in 3rd place. Whoa, for a moment, Beret tries to challenge him, but he's gone wide now and ran out of road, quite literally did the Frenchman. Green flags waving then. Dramatic restart here in race 2, and the conditions not getting any better, but it's Pedro Piquet of Brazil leading the way from Norris of Great Britain. And of course, Piquet headed to Europe next season in 2016. He'll be racing for Van Amersfoort Racing in Formula 3, one of the top teams in Europe. And this is the perfect way to tune himself, just as so many other drivers have done so over this 12-year history of the Toyota Racing Series. Slight mistake by Bruno Baptista in the number 25 yellow car, and Habsburg, Ferdinand Habsburg, winner of race 1, who stalled off the line trying to get past, on board with Patak, as he now has an attack on Habsburg himself and gets past the Austrian. Great racing despite the weather, and way wide goes Beret and into the puddles, but somehow makes it back on track just behind Owen of the United States. And the Frenchman really having a big day out here. The clouds and wet weather of Christchurch. Norris tries to go up the inside of the leader. Piquet gets squeezed to the inside. Piquet holding the line, but he's got to come across, and Norris is doing a really good job now of getting up the inside, and he's done it. Lando Norris takes the lead in a textbook overtake. Fantastic stuff by the Englishman to take the lead here in race 2, ahead of Pedro Piquet. And he played that very well indeed. Got good drive out of the last corner, did Norris. Made his way up the inside and made it impossible for Piquet to come across on him. And that's how he got the lead. Perret still in the thick of it too. This time fighting with the number 67, Patak, the pole, and spins him around, but somehow Anthony holds on. And Perret, likewise, is still going. And this is a great four-way battle. Habsburg in the middle of it now, trying to get past Perret. Habsburg trying to keep those points going, having won the first race. This turning out to be an important race for him. Obviously starting from 8th, having drawn the marble out, the worst marble to draw. Habsburg knew he was up against it, and then he stalled. And there's Devlin Di Francisco, who celebrates his birthday next week. Devlin, one of the rookies here from Canada, a man from Quebec. Time running out then for those trying to challenge Piquet and Norris. Perret crosses the line. Habsburg now all over the back of him. On board with Brendan Leach. He too has had a dramatic race too. The vision getting worse, as you can see. Conditions not getting any better as the race has gone on. Can Habsburg challenge one more time? Likewise, Leach. Piquet still ahead of this man, number 33. Guan Yu Zhou, but Markelov is all over the back of the Chinese competitor. Markelov with all his GP2 experience and of course a full season here in New Zealand. Zhou just trying the Toyota Racing Series for the first time. And also getting some grass track action. Julian Hannes, the German, for Victory Racing. Gary Orton very impressed with Julian. First time out in a car. And doing very well indeed. Markelov still pushing to see if he can get on the podium, but it's all Lando Norris coming towards the line. That's the gap he's got between himself and Pedro Piquet. Zhou still third at the moment, and Markelov all over the back of him, the Russian. But coming to the line, it's Lando Norris of Great Britain, who will take his first victory in New Zealand here in race 2. Brilliant stuff by the Brit. The results then for race 2, Lando Norris with his first win, then Pedro Piquet, Zhou of China, Markelov of Russia, Patak, Perret and Habsburg in 7th place, Bruno Baptista 8th, then Leach, Di Francesco, Cockerton and Will Owen in 12th place for the USA. Deruvala 13th, La Liberté in 14th, then Hannes 15th, Rodrigo Baptista in 16th place, Theo Bean, James Monroe and Nicolas DePero, non-finishers.
Yeah, obviously, really good result. Managed to step it up a bit from yesterday, and coming from 6th is even better. So yeah, really enjoyed the racing in the rain. Yeah, really good fun.
Yeah, the restarts here in New Zealand, it's a bit different from Europe, so everyone starts really close together in the main straight. So it's a drag race into the 4th corner. But it was a hard race on the rain. We don't have a lot of. We never run these cars a lot in the rain, so it was a fun race, and I'm happy with the podium.
Yeah, in the start I had a lot of wheel spin, that's why I dropped off a lot. And but in the end, we managed to do some good overtaking and make back to the podium. So really happy with the result, and have to thank the team for the great car.
Coming up, it's the feature race for one of the most prestigious prizes in New Zealand motorsport, the Lady Wigram Trophy. Taylor Cockerton is the youngest of the Kiwi drivers. He moves up to TRS after progressing through the junior formulas. He is the current New Zealand Formula 4 champion.
I'm absolutely loving it. This is a great series for me, for drivers like me from New Zealand. The competition here is amazing. So there's so many great drivers, and I'm just loving learning new things and just adapting to these cars. They're an incredibly quick race car, but yeah, I'm just learning. Every session I'm gaining and just really enjoying the sessions. Yeah. You look down and see you're against guys like Artem Markelov and PK, the son of a world champion. It's pretty awesome. You do have to sort of pinch yourself and remember what you're doing sometimes. Yeah, like I say, this is sort of a dream come true for me. I've spent the last sort of 10 years as a kid growing up watching the series and wishing I could be part of it one day, and to think that day's finally come is fantastic. At the end of the day, it's another race car. It may be a lot quicker, but the basics are still the same. And I have had a lot of experience on these tracks before, which is, if I can have any advantages over these other guys, it would be that. So, I've just got to take my advantages and just, yeah, like I say, work on little things every session. And yeah, I'm pretty happy where I am so far.
The grid for race 3 sees Lando Norris in pole position. Alongside him is teammate Markelov. Then it's Zhou of China, PK of Brazil, Brendan Leach and James Monroe, the two Kiwis together, De Pero and Lalibete, Batista, Rodrigo that is, and Di Francesco, Habsburg and Owen, Hannes and Cockerton, then Deruvala and Bean, Anton Patak and Bruno Baptista, and at the back, Timothy Beret.
Stephen, James Monroe came so close last year to winning this event. What have you told him this year?
Try and keep his nose clean. It's going to be a pretty difficult race today with the conditions as they are. Everyone's on slick tyres and we're getting a greasy track. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult for all of them. So taking it easy is going to be the key.
So then the start of the Lady Wigram Trophy race, the feature race of the day, and it's Norris, the championship leader, who leads them away from pole. Good start from Devlin Di Francisco, goes to the outside, now to the inside, trying to find a way through from 10th on the grid. Good start by the Canadian. And it's Norris who picks it up and takes the lead ahead of PK. Markelov drops back a spot. Everybody cleanly through the first turn. Timothy Beret packed into the midfield in what looks like it's going to be another big battle. PK jinks to the inside, but no way round at the hairpin this time. Markelov still third in the top three, pulling away somewhat from the chasing group, led by Zhou. On board with Taylor Cockerton, who came from 14th. Great start by the young Kiwi, and he's still going. Round the outside now, Baptista, his next victim. But there's somebody going slow in front of him, and he has to take avoiding action. Loses some speed there. Gains it back again. And Taylor Cockerton. Oh, and Monroe goes off and loses his front wing. So as one Kiwi's going well, another goes off, and that's the second time. Monroe, of course, having that big smash earlier in the day. And now in trouble again. And Taylor Cockerton, the E-Tech man, the current New Zealand Formula Ford champion, I'm sure inspiring those watching from Formula Ford on the sidelines. They too racing here this weekend in Christchurch. And Cockerton flying the Kiwi flag as PK from second place spins out. He got on the gas early on the exit of the last turn, maybe touched the white line and just lost the grip. That slid him across the track and onto the grass, but he's recovered well. Meanwhile, Beret still fighting to turn one, makes up one spot. He's in about 7th at the moment. I've been impressed with the battling skills of Timothy Beret so far, the Frenchman. But of course, he's been in the cut and thrust of American racing now for a while as we go on board with Brendan Leach. Leach at the inside, makes up one spot. Conditions not getting any better. Due to have a 20-lap race if the weather stays off. And talking of off goes Rodrigo Baptista of Brazil. The man who took on Pedro Piquet in Formula 3 in Brazil last season has also spun out, just like his compatriot has. Let's have a look at what happened. I think he may have come together with somebody here, and he has. Yes, a little tap. And away and out of contention. And that's what happened to Monroe. He lost his front wing when he came together with De Pero of Argentina, lost the front wing, and then really had no control, as you can see, goes straight on at the next corner. And that's game over for poor old James Monroe. A very unlucky weekend for him. And another motor replay here, this time PK, and this is interesting. Look, gets on the gas, and he spun right round, really. He was sideways before he knew it then. And real unlucky for Pedro Piquet. Now, first of the pit stops. And in comes Jahan Deruvala, the number 6, who started 15th. They were all on slicks when they started, but as you can see, conditions getting worse and worse by the minute. And the Indian, being brought in by M2 Competition, was nowhere really in the race, and why not? Take the risk to come in. And I wouldn't be surprised if others do the same very soon. As you can see, yes, Markelov even, the experience of Markelov, the Russian, into the tyre barriers he goes, but he's okay, I think, no damage done. But that's how bad it is out there on slicks. It's just getting worse, and now it really is a lottery. They are skating on ice, quite literally, as though they were on roller skates on ice, because there's no grip out there. And the man sponsored by Russian Railways goes off track, just a little too wide that time, and that was all it took. But Markelov recovers and will get back on track, and he's got time to make some points up. And remember, he was in the top 3 after race 2. Off goes the Argentinian again, the number 21, DePero. And I think he's going to keep it going, and he has. There's a big puddle just there, there it is. And he's gone through it and gets back on track, but there's nobody around, so he's okay. Lost a lot of places, though. Here's what happened. Yeah, just a little wide into there. And saw in practice and in testing a lot of drivers going off into the dust there, and of course now in the wet, there's no return. And then splashing through the puddles, but it's pretty tough out there this afternoon. And the Lady Wigram Trophy is throwing up another classic here in Christchurch. Brendan Leach still in the hunt. He's now being chased by Devlin Di Francesco, and oh, a big smash! And this time it's William Owen who's crashed out, and surely that'll bring out the safety. And look at them all diving into the pits now to try and change tyres, because they anticipate the fact that the safety car will be out. I'm sure it will be. Beret is in, and that's a big crash from William Owen. You can see from the tyres on the left-hand side, big impact there, and that will bring out the safety car. But this could be tactically a great opportunity for those coming in now and putting on the wets. Here's what happened to Owen. Looked like he missed a gear, or stuck a gear, and then, yeah, like Markelov, got onto the rumble strips, and it's just so slippy out there, there's nowhere to go. Here comes the safety car, and what a shame for Lando Norris. He's in his own race, it's as though he was doing a testing lap, and he picks up the safety car, and that will just sink his heart, because he had an 18-second lead over the whole field on slick tyres, and he's still out there. Now the rest of the field, though, in deteriorating conditions, are coming out on wets as they take away William Owen's car, and Norris on slicks ahead of Zhou of China. But now it's going to be a very, very interesting restart, and here it is. Norris will lead the field across the line, but several of the men behind him are already a lap down, and in fact you have to look back almost to just outside the top 10. Deruvala's on the same lap. Artem Markelov likewise. As we go on board with him, he could be as high as 3rd place. It's going to be an interesting restart, this. 4th place for Markelov at the restart. Norris still leading. Tense times here in the Lady Wigram Trophy. Such an historic trophy to win. And Norris doing a very good job so far, carefully through the hairpin. And he has to be careful because he can't take the inside line on those slick tyres. You can see from the body language of the car, he's almost tiptoeing around the circuit, but trying to hold off this chasing pack, and he's got off! Yep, it had to be, and yep, he goes across the grass, splashes back onto the track in front of, it looks like so, and, well, what a shame. Lando Norris had it all, and obviously, with the safety car out goes Piquet as well, and in fact, he stopped on track with Timothy Beret by the looks of things, and that could bring it to a complete halt. But what a shame for Norris. So close, and I think he rejoined it about 4th or 5th, and another car in the background. Stuck out on track, and back with Markelov, who's still looking for that podium, and he may get it yet. There's Norris, who was in 3rd. He went wide again, of course, on the slick tyres. Markelov coming side by side with the Englishman. Down the front straight again. Atrocious conditions for this final race here of round 1, but great racing to start us off here in the 2016 Toyota Racing Series. Visibility getting worse, and sure enough, Piquet is stuck on track. And in fact, it's Theo Bean, the American, who's stuck with him, and out comes the safety car again. No surprise this time. And on board with Piquet, and yep, Piquet, I think, hit by the number 4, Theo Bean, and that broke his suspension, and as you can see, he puts his hands up as though to say, well, what do I have to do to keep going? This is Norris's off-track excursion, and ooh, he came on very quickly there, but I think he was just out of control. Stewards might have something to say about that. And he does get back on track, but really, as you can see, as he came back on, he was right in front of Guan Yu Zhou of China. And sure enough, the red flag is out, and that will end the 2016 Lady Wigram Trophy. And amazingly, would you believe it, out of all of that drama comes this man who started 15th. Jahan Daruvala wins the Lady Wigram Trophy, his first ever car race win. A fantastic result for the young Indian from Mumbai, who wins the Lady Wigram Trophy. Check on the results then for race 3. Jahan Daruvala with his first win, Ferdinand Habsburg second, and Artem Markelov of Russia third. Lando Norris was dropped to 9th after being penalised for dangerous re-entry onto the circuit.
The conditions were tricky as we went out of the box. I think I was last after the start, and then yeah, it was tricky on slicks. I made up a few places, and the team told me to box, and I wasn't quite sure why they told me to box. So I asked them again, and they were like, "Yeah, box, box, box." So I boxed, and they saw they put in wet zone, and then my main target was to pass Lando because he was on the lead lap. So I come out of the safety car, and the team knew that because it was raining and people on slicks, there might be a safety car. And that worked out well.
I was like, oh, that's a great result coming from 14th. And then he was like, hold on, they're all a lap behind. So suddenly my engineer told me P2, and I was like, oh, who's P1? I got to go get him. And it was Jan, but then it was red flagged, so it's amazing. I was last and second and came from 14th on the grid. Just cut my nose keen, that was pretty much the key.
So the points after round 1. Ferdinand Habsburg leads the way with 184 points, Markelov just 3 back on 181, and Lando Norris is in 3rd, and the leading rookie just 8 points clear of Zhou. Leach leads the local drivers in 7th place. Still a long way to go in the 5-round championship, and all the drivers are on the scoreboard. So as we head south to round 2 at Invercargill, the drivers and teams will take in the sights of Queenstown before getting down to work at the most southern racetrack in the world. We'll see you next time.